great thing for our business, Julie, thanks.
Oh, good. Well, it's such a great time to buy right now. So sometimes I see sellers a little bit on the fence. They don't want to sell because maybe they're not going to get their price. But I'm starting to see now that our exchangers are looking at the benefits, the really good benefits on the buying side. So if they take a little hit on the sale, they'll make it up quick.
Right. So there's one more question about identifying. And now what happens if you list your 3 properties within your 45 days and then on the 46th day all 3 properties sell to someone else?
Oh, well, that's a good question. It's not a pretty answer though, I gotta say. If you identify property and after the 45 days none of them are available anymore or you don't like them, your exchange fails and you'll pay taxes as normal. But we, the exchange company, have to hold the money till the 181st day.
So you're right, not a pretty picture, but again, it behooves someone, if we're starting the process, that we immediately find a property and that they're ready ahead of time. There's no reason, if you've done this identification process, that by day 46 we haven't figured it out. Is that true? Only 3 you can only identify 3?
There's a couple of different ways. The first way, the most common way, is the 3 property rule, and that's where you can identify up to 3 properties. You may only intend to buy 1, but a lot of people put more than 1 down just for peace of mind because they're not sure what they're going to get. But there's another rule. It's the 200% rule, and you'll use that if you want to identify 4 properties or more. But when you're listing the addresses for those properties, you're also listing the fair market value of each property. And when I add up that list of fair market value, it can't exceed 200% or double of what you sold your property for. So if you sold a property for $500,000 and you wanted to list 4 properties or more, that list cannot exceed $1 million. So
Too trick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
Which brings up one other question, something that we haven't talked about yet, is that and when you're doing these exchanges, we haven't heard the phrase equal or greater value yet.
Oh yes, equal or greater value. When you're doing an exchange, the property that you buy or the properties that you buy need to be equal to or greater than what you sell your relinquished property for. So if you sell something for $500,000, you need to be purchasing property or properties that will equal $500,000 for 100% deferral. If you buy less than that number, you can and do a partial exchange, but the difference would be exposed to taxes. And people do partial exchanges all the time, but the big misconception is that everyone is so concerned about the gain that they think they only have to reinvest the gain. But the truth of the matter is you need to reinvest both your basis and your gain to get 100% deferral.
That's true. I think, again, for the listener right now, I think that really is a key thing, where although you're saving taxes on the gain, or deferring taxes on the gain, it's more important to pay attention to the bigger picture that you need to, it's the whole price that you're selling the property for. So that's, I think that's a big lesson for everyone.
Yeah, people really misunderstand that.
I have a question for Judy, and that is it possible to sell a house and purchase land in an exchange of less value?
Of less value.
Where you could
Yes.
where you could perhaps build
A property? Okay, well, first of all, yes, you can do exchange. You can sell a house and do an exchange and buy vacant land. But when you go from depreciable property, which is the house, to non-depreciable property, which is the land, you still get the tax deferred status, but you'll have depreciation recapture to pay. So I have to remind people about that. There's depreciation out there. Now, if you're buying a piece of land that you eventually want to build on, you can do that as well. It's called an improvement exchange or a build-to-suit exchange. There's a lot more moving parts to that. What happens is the exchange company takes title to the property while the improvements are being made. And those improvements need to be made, they need to be identified within your 45 days as well. And those improvements needs to be substantially completed in 180 days, which is really difficult to do.
We did an exchange once a long time ago, and I don't know if this is acceptable today, but I believe that the accountants and attorneys for the people, they owned 2 condominiums. They sold the 2 condominiums and bought a lot. And then there was some sort of a time limit that if they completed a house within that, so the 2 condos, let's say, were going to be theoretically worth what it would take them to buy the lot and build the house, or they would end up with a little more. But that was allowable, I believe.
It's still allowable, and it's called a build-to-suit exchange.
So
What they're
that's the
doing
same,
is
okay.
they're building up that property to suit the exchange value that they need to satisfy the 2 condos that were sold.
Okay, well, I think
It's
that's.
doable, it's just difficult to get all that work done in 180 days. Because
Okay.
what you identify needs to be substantially
No,
completed. in
I
90 days.
believe that they did not have to, that they had some sort, because it was a brand new construction, it was impossible, but they did. I believe they, I mean, I don't remember
I mean,
how,
they
and
got-
I could be wrong, but that's what they did, whether it was correct or not.
Well, the burden of proof is on the client if they get audited. Was the property of value at the time they took title back to it?
Mhm.
They took title back.
Quick question, how does it work when dealing with related parties and exchanges?
Well, the IRS doesn't particularly like related party transactions, and everybody in Hawaii is related to everybody, so I always have to ask, are you thinking of selling to or buying from a related party? Because if you are, we have to have a conversation. So let's say I want to sell my relinquished property to my sister. My sister would have to hold that property for 2 years, or she'll blow my exchange.
Interesting, I never knew that, Julie,
Yeah.
thanks, that's,
And it gets a little bit more sticky on the replacement property. So let's say I sold my property to you, Betty, and I wanted to buy my replacement property from my mother. She's a related party. And what does my mom do? She sells it to me for less than fair market value. She puts cash in her pocket, and she benefits from the transaction. Maybe she pays off a mortgage. You know, if I don't get audited, it works. But if I get audited, any of those 3 things present, the IRS would probably disallow it. The only way we really see that happening is if the related party mom goes on and does an exchange.
interesting.
So that's interesting.
Because it doesn't seem like that should make a difference.
It doesn't, but there was probably a few not so great situations out there, and you know, the IRS at the end of the day, they really want their money.
They
So,
win, yeah.
They win.
They're the winner.
So
think
that is something, you know, it's all
Yeah.
arguable, and it's not against the law to buy from or sell to a related party, but it comes with issues.
And you're wanting to not have issues would be probably the best advice we could give anyone in this is you do not want issues.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So I always tell our clients to talk to their CPA or tax attorney about the related party issues, to have them interpret it on their behalf. And if the accountant or tax attorney says go forth and conquer, then we'll do it.
You know, one thing is, our website is sakamotoproperties.com. So at any time, if you have any questions for us, you can come to our website, check out what's going on. You can contact us through the website. You can call us at 808-669-0070. And I'm thinking right now maybe Julie would give you her contact information so you'd be able to go to her website and make a phone call to her, etc.
I sure will. Our website is www.orexco1031.com. That's OREXCO 1031.com. My toll-free telephone number, 877-591-1031. And email, J for Julie, Tumbaga at orexco1031.
How would we spell Tumbaga?
Oh, thank you. T-U-M-B-A-G-A. I know, that's a toughie.
What
But-
about Dean? How do we reach Dean?
Dean, that's a good question. My cell phone you can reach me on is 870-7736, and be happy to take any calls. And I just wanted to say thanks to Julie for coming today too, and I really am a big believer in tax deferred exchanges. I think there's a huge opportunity for people right now to be able to defer taxes, and there's clearly a huge upside on that. I don't know if Julie wants to answer this question, she doesn't have to, but there's a small risk to doing exchanges, as we talked about earlier, which is that you aren't able to complete the exchange, the properties that you identified sell before you get to buy them, whatever the case may be. The downside is very minimal when you consider the fees in comparison to the great upside that I think exchanges offer. Do you want to talk about fees, Julie?
I can talk about our fees. Our fees are very reasonable. We charge $900 to do the exchange, where you can sell 1 relinquished property and purchase up to 3 replacement properties at no additional cost. It includes all the legal documents,